Coming up on the San Francisco 49ers report, we have an encouraging Christian McCaffrey injury update from former Niner Richard Sherman, who talked about McCaffrey's ailment on his podcast. Can the 49ers catch fire in the back half of the season coming off the bye? Some fascinating numbers that you don't want to miss. And also, San Francisco finally has a rest advantage as compared to a rest disadvantage. We've talked about that a lot here on the show, but going up against the Buccaneers, they have a little bit of an edge, and I'll explain that as well. First, a programming reminder. Join us today on this Thursday, November 7th. The 49ers Report will be going live 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. This is the time that we go live every single Thursday, so be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon as well, and turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime we push out a show, anytime we publish a live program, you will be notified. Let's start off with Christian McCaffrey. Things are looking good for CMC. The 49ers this week opened up his practice window. He's missed the entire season because of bilateral Achilles tendonitis. And this is what former Niner Richard Sherman, one of the top cornerbacks in the history of football, had to say about CMC making his return on Sunday against Tampa Bay. I heard it from the horse's mouth. He feels really good, and he felt like he could have probably played last week. But they wanted to be overly cautious and just give him more weeks of practice and more time to work that thing out just to feel comfortable and to feel confident, and he does. All signs point to him playing and probably a significant role in this football game. Christian McCaffrey is going to have, if he's able to stay healthy, a profound impact on this Niners offense. Dynamic runner. He can run in between the tackles, has the speed to get out to the edge. He is a clean and nifty route runner and a really good wide receiver. In the pass game, you can use him on wheel routes, regular screen passes, swing it out to him out of the backfield, or if Brock Purdy goes through his progressions, you hit him with that check down. I really think he's going to help this Niners 28th ranked red zone offense. They've been able to move the ball a lot this year, but once they get inside the 20, they've stalled, and they've kicked a lot of field goals as compared to punching the ball in and scoring touchdowns. And when you have McCaffrey on the field, it's another weapon that you can utilize to stress the defense. Now, Richard Sherman is saying that he could have a prominent role. Earlier this week, we talked about the report from Dan Graziano of ESPN, who said if McCaffrey's coming back, the Niners are going to use him a lot. I would manage the workload. I wouldn't overuse him, and this is how I would divide the carries, because I also like what Jordan Mason and Isaac Guerendo can bring to this Niners rushing attack. So what I would do if I was Kyle Shanahan, at least as McCaffrey comes back, and keep in mind he's really done nothing up until this point, 12 to 15 carries per game. And then maybe you sprinkle in some touches, of course, utilizing him as a receiver. Jordan Mason, he is the thunder to the lightning for McCaffrey. And he's been one of the top running backs in the game. I love the physicality that he's able to bring to the football field. And I want to see him get 8 to 10 carries. Isaac Guerendo, 4.3 speed, 220 pounds. Like McCaffrey, he's a talented runner and a talented pass catcher. He's been very confident over the last couple of weeks as the game has slowed down. And with that, he's had more production. I thought that he was terrific against Seattle, and you saw the breakaway speed in that game. He was really good against Dallas after Jordan Mason went out. And to give your young player carries, he can have a role on this team, and he can have an impact on this team. So that'll give the Niners and Kyle Shanahan a very balanced offense where San Francisco can still run it 25 to 32 times a game. That's in the comfort zone for San Francisco because they are a run-heavy and heavy efficiency running team. As for how the Niners stack up, offensively, these numbers are actually pretty good. They're 6th in points per game, 2nd in yards per game, 2nd in yards per play, 6th on third downs. They perform very well in a couple of very key metrics. Where they've really struggled, turning drives into touchdown scoring drives. They've settled for too many field goals. If they can figure out their red zone deficiencies, they are 28th there. they could start blowing some teams out and really catch fire in the back half of the season. Defensively, have to make some improvements. I'm okay with where the points per game is. Yards per game, not bad. Yards per play, pretty solid. Have to get off the field on third downs. They're 25th there, and they're 22nd in the red zone. So red zone offense, defense, back half of the year, coming off the bye week, I'll be looking specifically at those two areas. If you were pumped up about Christian McCaffrey being back for this football team, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Still to come here on the show, let's run it back to our 49ers report rundown. Can the Niners catch fire in the back half of the year? San Francisco also finally has a rest advantage. We'll break that down coming up around the corner as well. But let me first tell you about our friends at Prize Picks, the sponsor for today's San Francisco 49ers report. The best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks. It's the only daily fantasy sports app that I use, and you can use it in California, Florida, Georgia, Texas, and many more states, 30 across America. We've been talking about America a lot nationwide this week. I wonder why. As for our Prize Picks lineup for some Thursday night football, a massive game in the AFC North. Lamar Jackson, more than 50.5 rushing yards. I feel like that's stealing right there from your mama. Joe Burrow, more than 267 passing yards. And then Derrick Henry, more than a half rushing and receiving touchdown. Get $50 when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. We'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's show. Are the San Francisco 49ers poised for a second half run? Some really interesting data and trends here over the last few years and during Kyle Shanahan's tenure that I want to pass along to the faithful. Over the last 3 years, the 49ers have won 70% of their games in the back half of the season. They're off to a slow start here in 2024, but slow starts and having success by season's end, nothing new for San Francisco. Back in 2021, the Niners started the year 3-5. Then they improved. They went 10-7 in the regular season, made it to the NFC Championship game. In 2022, they were 4-4. They made the trade for Christian McCaffrey. They reeled off a very impressive winning streak. They didn't lose again the rest of the regular season, 13-4 that year, and they once again made it to the NFC Championship game. And in 2023, they started 5-3, went 12-5, made it to another NFC Championship game, of course, and the Super Bowl, but they started 5-0, lost 3 games in a row, and then they caught fire and they found their identity, able to rebound after those 3 consecutive losses. And you know what's funny too? Now that I'm thinking about this, the state of Florida has served as a launching pad for San Francisco. Back in 2021, when they started 3-5, they came out of the bye week. They went to Jacksonville. They drubbed the Jaguars. And last year, they lost 3 games in a row. They went to Jacksonville and crushed the Jaguars. Here they are 4-4. They're going to Tampa, and hopefully they can annihilate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to start what we hope is another Super Bowl run in the back half of the 2024 campaign. The 49ers have the coaching. The 49ers have the talent. The 49ers have the high-level experience to turn it around, and in a wide-open NFC West, they can be the team that represents the NFC in New Orleans come February in Super Bowl 59. They have to play their best football. They can't suffer and afford to suffer many more injuries, but if they play to their capabilities, to their potential, this could be a really special football team. And under Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers are 21-33 before the bye, but 43-18 after the bye. They are, by definition, a second-half team. And over the last 3 years, San Francisco is 30-8 in the second half of the year. That's really impressive. To be that consistent and for the data to point out how good they are after the bye, but also in the back half of the season. So with that, natural segue to pop up this question: what will the Niners' 2024 record be? Let me know down in the comment section right now. I always love hearing from the real ones. The 49ers finally have a rest advantage. San Francisco, as we know, has the worst rest disadvantage in the National Football League, and this has been a big talking point over the last several months here for the Niners, especially when they've played so much football over the last few years, 4 NFC titles in 5 years, 2 Super Bowl runs, so they're playing deep into the season, and then they have a shorter offseason, not as much rest, and that's why I don't think it's fair how the schedule makers boned and screwed San Francisco. A minus 21-day net rest day disadvantage. Look at the Baltimore Ravens. They are at plus 16, and the Niners are at minus 21. So that is more than a month combined in a season that goes from September, October, November, December through January, and hopefully into February. But in this game against Tampa Bay, the 49ers are coming off the bye, natural rest advantage there. The Buccaneers are not coming off a bye, and they played on Monday Night Football. They played a hard-fought, emotional, physical game in overtime and then suffered a tough loss. And they might be at home, but they're coming off a short week. How the Bucs fare this year? This is a pretty good football team. And I know that their record doesn't indicate that at 4-5. They do have their bye week looming here, a Week 11 bye for Todd Bowles' team. And yes, Baker Mayfield might be without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, but among all teams in the NFC, they might have the 2 most impressive wins in the conference. They went on the road to beat Detroit, and then they beat Philadelphia, and that game wasn't even close at home. They have the 5th highest scoring offense in the NFL at 28.8 points per game, 5th in yards per game, 6th in yards per play, 2nd on third downs, and they are converting drives into touchdowns in the red zone 70.5% of the time. That's 2nd in the NFL. But their undoing has been what you would imagine to be a strength, considering their head coach Todd Bowles calls the defense and is a defensive mind. 28th in points per game, 30th in yards per game, 27th in yards per play, 23rd on third downs, and 21st in the red zone. The Niners will have their hands full with Baker Mayfield, who I think since the midway point of last year has been a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. This year he's been really good. He's completing 71.5% of his passes, almost 2,400 yards, 23 touchdowns to 9 picks throughout the course of a whole season. That's more than 40 touchdowns and 18 interceptions. That's a really good year. Liam Cohen is their offensive coordinator. He was at Kentucky prior to serving as the Bucs OC. He maximized Will Levis. Will Levis at Penn State couldn't beat out Sean Clifford. Will Levis' final year without Liam Cohen calling the plays was bad. Will Levis as a pro has been awful. And so he's helped to elevate Baker Mayfield just like Dave Canales did last year as the Bucs OC, who is now, and used that body of work to become the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. So Mayfield, he can sling it. He'll try to get rid of the ball quickly. The Bucs have a good offensive line. They're going to try to get rid of the ball quickly to neutralize that Niners pass rush, one of the matchups to watch, and we'll preview that game during our live show a little bit later today. And if you're watching this after the fact, we got plenty of content on the channel, including a Niners-Bucs preview coming up. So who you got? SF for the Niners, TB for the Buccaneers. Let me know down in the comment section. As always, thank you so much for watching. We will be live later on this Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. So we'll catch you in a bit.